Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Off Script with Pastor Jared and
Dillon.
And
He gets me every time, Caleb.
here we are, going to talk today a little bit about, we'll say NextGen ministry. We don't really use that a lot here, but we'll say student ministry, kids ministry, family ministry, the thing that binds. What binds is the question. What binds student ministry and kids ministry together and gives us a cohesive plan and a vision to think through the bringing of those two things together. That's what we're going to talk about today. So we've already gone through a church rebrand. Yeah, a church. Gotcha. We've got a new vision statement. We've got new values, and that's church-wide. So we want to say all those things apply to our kids ministry and all those things apply to our student ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But there seems to be at least a need to communicate to parents and to ourselves what are some distinctives of our kids and student ministries that are binding those two ministries together. So our birth through 18 values that maybe wouldn't make sense for the whole church, wouldn't make sense necessarily for senior adults or, middle-aged folks or anything. But if you are birthed through 18, this is where we're going to focus on. So,
but all of them still point back exactly to the vision and values.
It's all connected. All connected and it's all together. But felt a need to have something that was more directed towards our kids and families. So if you are a parent and you've got a kid in one of our ministries, this is really for you. And if you're a kid listening, congratulations, you're one of the few that listens to the podcast. But
good job.
I know a few of you out there.
Yeah. But that's this is really for us to create this ministry identity that we when we do ministry as Kirby Woods, this is a grid that we place over everything we do, and we think through it. The same way we think through our church values, we think through these. So I've created these. These are the 5 Ps. How does the pop filter work?
Isaac's going to hate editing this.
5 Ps of children and student ministry, NextGen ministry. The 5 pillars, maybe, if we have a picture of, can I get like a Parthenon and put a columned structure? Anyway.
It has to be just like the one you drew us.
You need to draw it and send it to the church too.
I may be creative in some ways, but hand-drawn art is not one of those.
Hey, we can shamelessly plug Shannon again for doing the new signs. Maybe she can do this.
Actually, that sounds way better than what I was doing. So, okay. So 5 Ps of NextGen ministry. I don't think in any particular order. So first is this. Number 1, preparation. In saying that, what we mean is that we want to ensure the next generation is equipped and prepared for the next stage of life. Whatever stage they're in now, we feel like it's our job to help them prepare for the next thing. So we don't want to send them into whatever the next thing is, whether that's if you're a 5th grader going to middle school, if you're middle school going to high school, if you're high school going to college, any of those steps. We don't want to send you in unprepared for what's coming. We want you to be absolutely prepared for what's facing you in life. And when we think about that, we think of Ephesians 6:4, which is a challenge to parents for sure. But we, as we'll say later, partner with parents to assist in bringing our kids up in the paideia of the Lord, the discipline and instruction of the Lord. So, in short, with this point, you guys can add your thoughts to it. Any way that we can make sure kids and students feel equipped in their faith for whatever the world's going to throw at them, we want to be a part of that.
And the world will throw things.
And it will. So, thoughts on that and any practical ways we might want to think about doing that?
Not being afraid to teach on the hard subjects that come about. And that's something that comes up with the values being just bold application of the Bible. Not being afraid to say what the Bible says against what the world says.
Mm-hmm. So if there's something we know is coming and it's maybe an uncomfortable conversation, what we have to say now is we care more about preparing them than we do about saying things that are uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So concrete example, sexuality, LGBT, things that you may want to say, we don't really want to talk about this. Maybe not be the most comfortable thing to talk about, but because it is going to be something that's going to hurt you if we don't talk about it, we now feel that we have to, for your good, so that you can be prepared for what's coming. And that's a huge part of, student ministry. Want to prep for what they're going to experience and see and hear in college, and even going backward, not just to wait till college, but what they're seeing in high school now, or what they're seeing online now.
Yep.
So you have to make sure that they're ready to encounter the things they are. Otherwise, we're just, again, this fits into our church vision, because we don't want to leave people unprepared for anything.
Right.
We want to be an equipping church. And so all we're saying is we're going to drill that down all the way into student and kids ministry.
But also coming alongside parents and helping equip them to help their kids.
Yeah. Equip the
for
equippers.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. And more on that. That's actually going to be a point in the future. But yes.
They
Anything
kind of
else?
go hand in hand, I think.
Anything else you guys have there? Preparation?
I think also just like preparing a place for you guys to ask questions. We love answering those questions, and don't be afraid to ask the hard question. With the reality is, we also understand if we don't quite know the answer, we're not gonna puff up, smoke you out with it, but we're gonna say, hey, like, this is a discipleship moment of, let's go figure this out together. Because I can't tell you how many kids, like, I know they have the questions, they don't ask them, and then we're seeing a big trend right now where I'm 28. A lot of my age and a little bit younger, they're asking the questions they should have been asking in high school. And it's kind of rocking their world when somebody, hey, how do you define, like, how do you know the Bible's real? As simple as that question. Like, if you're not prepared for that, that can rock you. And, like, we want to prepare you for that and create an environment
where you have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Because you have the church, all these fellow believers to fall back on when those hard questions come. And if you're out there at college, you're kind of alone.
Yeah, much less of a support system. Yeah, one thing that I have said is that huge blessing in my life that I asked a lot of the hardest questions at age 17 while I was surrounded by support and help and parents and a youth pastor and friends, asking those same questions. When I say that, what I mean is, how do I know that this is all true and it's not just something spoon-fed by my parents, and that if I was born in India, I wouldn't be a Hindu, and I'm only a Christian because of the place where I'm born, not because of what I believe. Those kind of questions I was asking in junior year of high school, 16, 17. Whereas if you don't engage people, a lot of times they'll just put it off, put it out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, not think about it. And then you get your world rocked at 22. Yep. And you're alone, and maybe you're living in an apartment, and maybe you're just watching YouTube all day, and you're getting depressed, and you don't have the system to ask the questions the right way and get good answers.
So you go to Google,
and that can be a dark time. So
a very dark time.
So that's preparation. We want to make sure that our kids and our students, whatever is the next thing in their life, or whatever is the hard thing in their life, that they can say, I'm equipped, I'm prepared, and they have a place to ask the questions beforehand to be ready. All right, that's preparation. Number 2, participation. So what we mean by participation is that we want to work toward involvement of the next generation in the life of the church beyond their ministries. So kids being involved in the church beyond kids ministry, students being involved in the church beyond student ministry. And we've all said over and over and over again, but we'll say it again, that a silo approach is not what we want to look up and see that we've built in 3 years. So in order not to do that, we have to intentionally get the kids in student ministry outside of themselves, not seeming like a ministry unto itself, but a part of the church. The mindset that you are not the church of the future. You are the church now. If you are a believer, you are literally the church today. So that mindset, and you should serve and be a part of our church in that way. And so we want our kids and students to fellowship with older adults, to serve when the church serves. When we give out food boxes, we want them there, even if it's with their parents. And if they're young, it's going to be with your parents. If we're handing out bulletins, if we're going on mission trips, if whatever we do, the thought shouldn't be when you graduate, then you can serve. No, we want to have slots pre-prepared for kids with their parents or students with or without their parents to serve. So basically this, when you graduate high school, you shouldn't feel like you left your youth church and went to a big church for the first time. And even when we did families worship last Sunday, the point of why we're adding those in is so that even going from 5th grade to 6th grade, it doesn't feel like I went from children's church to the first time ever being in the service. And I went from one thing to it that I don't recognize at all. And so we're promoting a whole body mentality. So thoughts on that? And I just gave away one practical thing that we've done, but how would you guys add anything to that?
I think the hard reality is we're going to do a lot of things, but we also need you parents helping us because we can provide the avenue, but I don't want y'all to look at it as I'm just going to drop my kid off for childcare.
Yeah, we're not dry cleaners. We can't spiritually dry clean your kids into salvation. We need y'all's help too. Mm-hmm. We come alongside y'all and work together to foster in the, spiritual life that we want them to have. But we need y'all's help because y'all see them the whole week. We see them 3 hours out of the week. And so there's just so much that y'all have the availability to do. But with that, we want them to be involved in the church with you. And that's something that I've always had a hard time with the youth. They all sit together in worship. And so the only chance that a kid ever gets to see where they get to see their parents worshiping in a church service is during these family days. And so those can be important where they're, your child can look up and see you singing the songs or doing the motions this week, and just kind of like, oh, my dad, my mom, they get it. They have that same faith that, Pastor Caleb's talking about, or Pastor Dillon, or Pastor Jared, or my Sunday school leaders, or whoever, and just having that realization that you're in it too.
I would say too, with family worship day that we just did, we even had the conversation of like, do we have Caleb preach that day? And the thought was actually, while you definitely could, let's not, because they get to see me preach, which is the inverse of what they're used to.
It's the normal for what would be. Yeah,
they're normally used to hearing you, but the whole point of this is to get them used to the regular church cycle that they experience when they get older. And so I think that happened. They realize I'm not, I'm not impossible to understand. It's not like I'm speaking a different language or that they can't possibly understand the big preacher in the big room or whatever that is. Most of them, all of them did great. It looked like.
No, they did phenomenally.
Yeah. So that's participation. Other stuff, like you guys mentioned, is someone told me once a quote that was just very simple, and I think about it every once in a while. That said, "When at all possible, never minister alone." And what they meant by that was, if you're going to do something where you're ministering and there's an opportunity to bring anyone with you that could benefit from seeing it, do that, because they're going to get the benefit out of it. Now take that same thing and apply it to our families and our kids. Yep. Parent, if you're doing something that smells at all like ministry, serving someone, even as simple as you signed up for the meal train or the takethemameal.com or whatever it is, when someone, needed something brought to their house, instead of you driving out there, take a second, pack the kids in the car, explain to them why you're doing what you're doing, let them see you walk the meal and hand the casserole dish over.
Right.
Yep.
It seems small, but that stuff adds up over time in that they saw you do it and they felt like they gave them a meal.
Right.
Instead of just they were watching you do it, they helped. If you can say like, hey, can you just, take these crumbs, these breadcrumbs, and just add them to the top of this, meal, and they helped. Then you can say when you hand the thing over to the person, and little Johnny helped, right? And then I know it seems small, but that stuff does add up, and it makes them feel like they participated rather than they watched mom or dad do it. And worst of all, when you're doing all these wonderful things and they don't even know, and because a lot of parents do great things, but their kids don't see it. They don't know So as much as the kids can participate.
Even just running slides in the worship service. Usually there's a practice before. Bring your kid in there. You know,
Right.
you don't have to bring all your kids if you have more than one, but bring one of them a week and say, here's what I do. I click, the little space bar right on time and have them help you do it in the practice. And they can, see that you have a buy-in in the church and things like that. So
I think about the chows that we just sent out 2 weeks ago and went on a mission trip as a family. And the whole point was that they all went together and they participated.
Right. Yeah. But don't forget, you don't have to go on mission to bring your kids on mission. Like, you don't have to go far away. You can do mission trips here. You can do mission projects here in Memphis for a weekend.
Well, like I said,
for a day.
If you're gonna bring kids, you can bring kids with you when you give the food boxes on Saturday or whatever you do.
Or if you go OCC, Operation Christmas Child, if you go buy stuff for a box, bring them with you and have, hey, what do you think the kids would like in the other countries? What do you think they would like, this toy or this toy? And have them help pick it out. And they get a lot of buy-in and they'll remember that.
Yeah. Move them from passive, maybe just being in the room, to saying, no, you helped. You were a part of it.
I think you can strip it back even further. Invite them in to participate with your daily time with God. Talk to them at the dinner table. Read about, hey, what did you read this week? Talk through those things. I can't tell you how beneficial dinner time is of having those conversations, of just letting them constantly see you reading the word, or you're praying, you're singing worship songs. Participate in that way, and I promise it makes an impression on kids.
Kennedy loves to go through the questions in Katrina's Bible study every morning. Loves it.
Yeah.
And Katrina, and she does a great job, absolutely, bragging on my wife a little bit, just of bringing Kennedy in for those questions, and Kennedy loves it. So
participation in the greater work of the church and in the life of the church, so as not to appear like two little mini churches. Children's church and youth church are their own little mini churches, and then one day you graduate to big church, and now that's the third church. And no, that's not what we want to do. So participation. Number 1, preparation. Number 2, participation. Number 3, passion.
Like the conference?
Yes. If you're in college only. One of the unique difficulties of this generation, and you guys can affirm or deny here, but I'm going to say that I believe one of the difficulties of this generation is that many kids appear passionless, depressed, anxious, zombified, a distant haze over their eyes, glazed over. Am I communicating?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You see the students, especially, hopefully not kids this young, but you probably still can see it. But kids that don't really love or get excited about anything, and when they do get excited about something, it may not be something biblical or healthy that they get excited about. And so, what we want are students, kids who obviously and openly love the Lord with all their heart and soul and mind and strength, and we want them to show that passion in their worship. Kids that, it's common for students, especially, kids do better on this. Kids openly sing, right? You'll get into it. Mostly, right?
Mostly.
They're trying the hand motions.
They're trying.
There's those couple that, like me when I was a kid, that are just like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that.
But you also have your fifth graders who I know where he's segueing into.
Yes.
They begin to hit this apathetic stage where you're about to go.
Something flips over in middle school where you become very conscious of other people's opinions of you, and it goes from it's cool to participate to it's cool to be apathetic. It's cool to look like I don't care. That's the number one thing that you want other people to think is I'm so cool because of how little I care.
Yeah, look at me lean on these lockers.
Yeah.
We don't have lockers, so that's not a problem.
Now look at me not make any kind of look like I'm into this at all, because I'm above it. That's sort of the mentality. And so we want to work against that, in that our students and kids care more that they, like David, show openly their passion for the Lord, that it's not something they want to hide. When it comes time to ask for, hey, would anyone like to pray for us today? We will see success when our students say, yep, I got it, or eagerly jump in because they want to. because they have a passion for the Lord, rather than it's the loser who puts their hand up and says yes. We want to go to no, I already pray anyway all the time. We all pray. Like there's no odd man out here. We love the Lord. This is what we do.
Right.
That's what you want to build. So that passion, that public, I want to love Jesus publicly and not worry about what others say. Open passion for the Lord. I would say that's how we would say is a huge marker of success for us. Anything you guys want to add to that?
I mean, just back to Deuteronomy 6:4, just bringing up your children to do that, to love the Lord with all their heart, soul, and mind. Yeah.
And we've hit on it a few times, but that family worship is so vital for a young kid to see, especially with society, like their dad praising the Lord. Whether you know, it's to carry the TV or you raise the roof, you know what I'm talking about with
My
your
fish is this big.
or your hands are in your pockets. Like I encourage our dads and moms out there, like let your kids see you worshiping the Lord, because that'll be an impression. Two, you know, this passion is society tells us, especially for men, like you can't show emotion, you can't do all these other things. Like you just got to be this big rock of nothing can affect me. But what do you see all throughout Scripture with men? Like what did Moses do when he came down and they began worshiping idols? He tore his clothes and wept before the Lord. Like we have emotions, and like when we're spending time with God and our thoughts become his thoughts, and you're getting in this relationship where you're like David, a man after God's own heart, like you're beginning to seek the things that the Lord's want. Like these things, you see this passion, this fire, that's what we want to see, but it has to start in the home. Like we can't
it helps
reciprocate this.
It helps dads to if you act too cool for school, your kids will.
Yep.
And so this does start with parents being willing to say, yeah, I love the Lord, and yeah, I sing. You have to at some point say like, yeah, right, I sing, because that's what Christians do. That's what it is to be a Christian, is to and to let your kids see when, at table talk, when Pastor Jared says, anybody want to close us in prayer tonight, to not have 12 seconds of crickets waiting on someone to jump in there. And I know a lot of people are just wanting the other person to have the opportunity, but it does
shots fired.
It does speak well when someone is like, I got it, and your kids notice those things and they see those things. So to be like that, that's what we want. Open passion for the Lord. So preparation, participation, passion. Number 4, protection. I think this is obviously uniquely for our kids in student ministries, but protection.
We don't worry about the senior adults? I worry about senior
I
adults.
care for different reasons, but yes. So we live in an unprecedented time when kids and students are obviously being targeted from every angle. So not just the what's the guy in the van that says free puppies and candy?
Yeah, the white van. He's
Which,
not a
not
thing
just
anymore.
that.
As society has gone crazy, because I remember growing up as a kid, I was told not to get in a random car with strangers. What do we do with Uber and all this?
Let me
we
order
get-
up a random stranger on the internet.
Which I'm okay with, because I've Ubered before and I understand it, but it's like, it's weird how that shifts.
Yeah, sure does.
Oh yeah, the man in the white van's not a thing anymore. The man in the white van's on the internet.
So
he's out there.
So it's the dangers our kids face are through their phones, through their smartphones and internet, through social media, obviously, and what we've even seen with the co-opting of once trusted brands. So the liberalization, the indoctrination of our kids through things like Disney and through things like TV shows and internet,
YouTube,
intellectual property.
YouTubers
that was
now.
Yeah, I mean, things that were once trusted. You used to just turn on the TV and let them
watch
be
TV.
able to watch if it was a kid's channel, or if it was a kid's streaming service. You used to just assume that, like, oh, there's not going to be anything in here. That's no longer the case. You have to be on it all the time and review things in advance. And then that's not even to speak of sexual abuse, which you always have to be cognizant of anywhere.
Absolutely.
People do slip in that have bad motives that want to. That's what grooming is warming people, warming up someone through earning their trust over long periods of time and slipping in and that kind of thing. That's what grooming is. So we just want to put this as a part of our a foundational thing for us, in that we purpose to create a safe environment where kids can thrive, and also resourcing parents to protect their kids in all aspects of life. So we want to do the best job we can with the kids that we have here on our campus. That starts there. I mean, it's while they're here. Obviously, you don't want a child to be abused anywhere on the planet, but there is something dark about a child being abused on a church campus in a church facility, because they will forever attach those two things together. That church was a place that I thought was safe that wasn't. And so we want to go over and above and beyond on those things. And so part of that is, we are constantly reviewing policies and saying like, hey, this is what the church had 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Is this right? Do we want to keep doing this?
I'm going through them right now.
And, we're making our facility, we've been renovating the kids' hallway. Part of that is just because it looks better and it's cleaner, but also part of that is because it's more functional for safety.
Right.
We want to be able to lock off the sides, and only be able to get through with badges or codes or, something like that. We want the second floor, moving kids on the second floor, like what we've just done, K through 5, allows you to say, if only K through 5 is on the second floor and you're up here and I see you on the second floor and you're not a volunteer today, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
It allows for that. So
plus we added security cameras throughout, and then we also have the 2 adult rule. We don't let any kids be alone with adult ever. Plus background checks and the sexual abuse trainings and all that. Yeah.
So in other words, you do everything you possibly can, and
Absolutely.
there's nothing that you don't do that is a standard of care that you don't do. So that's as much as you can. When we make this a value, then we basically say it's an expense that's worth it for us. We don't want to. We'll cut other things, but we really don't want to get in the habit of cutting safety measures for kids, because, like I said, when an abuse takes place and it's connected to their faith, that's double dark. Because it will then make them question that, their spiritual condition, which we don't ever want. And then, so that's the equipping we wanted to do here, but we also want to have equipping for how to protect kids off campus, at home, on the internet, and things like that. And so those are things I do try to speak about in my teaching and preaching ministry. I know you guys do as well, the dangers that kids run into on the internet and things like that. But also, I think we can say we want to add additional trainings for parents in how they can be aware of these things.
Plus the family resource wall we're working on, which me and Pastor Dillon have been looking through different resources that will be helpful for parents on, like, hey, what should I think about video games? Hey, what should I think about this show? Or how should I help my kid through this? So we're working on coming up with a bunch of those resources, finding the ones that speak truth and gospel-oriented stuff like that.
But we have to stay ahead of the curve on this stuff, because it's like the three of us, we can't just say like, well, we don't really look into this stuff because we're old. Like, well, you have to stay ahead because you have to tell parents things that they don't know. Right. Like a lot of parents don't know when your kids play video games, they can talk to people. Simple.
And there are switches you can go in and turn that off.
Yeah.
So that they cannot talk to people.
Yeah.
And you can turn off a lot of the awful gore that a lot of video games have. You can go in and turn that off so it doesn't show up.
You need to know which apps have the ability to meet people and which don't. Which apps let you send photos and which ones don't.
Which apps are just fake calculators that you can hide photos on.
Right. The apps that kids have that are, a sleight of hand thing, so the parents won't see what you're storing on your phone, that about screen time, and all the different ways that you can stay on top of things as parents. We're going to do our best to stay up on those and let parents know what they are, because that's a value for us.
Absolutely.
Anything else on protection?
Well, it even goes in, I know, like for us at summer camp, we had extra training for our leaders on, hey, what happens if this situation at camp and stuff like that. So even the camps we're choosing to go to and the places we're choosing to volunteer is, we're making sure we're equipped, our leaders are equipped, and we value, like, we understand that when we're going off campus and we're driving places, like, we have your most precious thing you've ever been given in life, which is a child. And so we do take protection very seriously, and that's why I know some churches don't have it, but like I love that we have it of like if you're looking to volunteer in kids and student ministries, like we actually have a 6 to 12 month waiting period, so we can research, do these things to protect our kids in that. And a lot of places don't have that, which is crazy.
Yep. Well, I mean, desperation often drives you to make concessions that you shouldn't make, and like we absolutely have gaps we'd like to fill right now in our ministries, but at the same time that can't prompt us to throw our policies out the window.
Right.
You just can't. No. So and so enshrining this as a pillar makes us think about it. Number 5, last one. Let me go make sure we said all 4. Preparation, participation, passion, protection. Number 5, partnership, which I think we've been saying the whole time. Undergirding all of these is partnership. And what we mean by partnership is that our goal as pastors, our goal as ministry leaders and the ministry itself is not to replace the role of parents in the discipleship of kids, but rather to partner with parents in a shared task. We're sharing a task with you, parents, and it's not 50-50. You have more than we do. So we're coming in saying that like when we say partnering and sharing, it's like 90-10 or for you.
I like to demonstrate it as like parents are the cake. We're literally the icing you put on, about that 5 to 10% of like we want to do everything to make you guys look like rock stars.
You just want to be the icing.
Exactly. I want to sugar them up and I send them home.
Dillon wants to lick icing. So, that's what we call Mr. Buttercream around the office.
Please. No, Isaac, cut that, please.
Don't you dare.
So, but when you say partnership, a lot of people think you mean like, oh, you're in 50, I'm in 50. But no, what we mean is like, this is your job. And there are some churches that don't even have kids ministries and student ministries, and they're not like a false church. What that means is we see our job is helping you in the role that you have to do the best you can. And we think we have a role, but that role is not to dominate you. It's not to overstep you. It's not to try to somehow take the lead in your child's life. That's impossible. This is your God-given role from God. But we also see what we want to do as equipping you to be the best leader that you can be. And so our ministry focus should reflect that, and that we want to make sure that we're looking at how you stand up in these tasks, and that we're equipping you. So
that goes back to just the whole idea of family ministry, not ministering to just the kids, not ministering to just the parents, but ministering to all of y'all together, and giving y'all chances to worship together, giving y'all chances to serve together, coming alongside you in difficult times and in great times.
So there it is, partnership. Anything else, Dillon? Last thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think like the cool thing is like we love going to extracurricular activities. So like we encourage you guys, send us their sports schedules, their play schedules. Like a lot of things we'd love to do is just come support you and your family in what you're doing, to let them know like as church staff, we care about you, but we're not I can't go up to that pastor. Right. You know, like he's untouchable. Like it's the idea of we take a mentality of like we're preaching from a stage, whether it's in the big service or in the student room or the kids room, but the reality is like we're gonna come off and be in the trenches with y'all.
Yeah.
So it's that partnership of the hard part is in my few years of experience in ministry is I've had few parents come to me after talking with their kids like I've been telling them that for months, and I'm like the reality is like we have to hear multiple voices sometimes, and so that's the idea of partnership is if y'all have questions, things your kids are struggling with, like let us know so that we can begin talking through the same things you were talking at home. That way they're like, hey, Pastor Caleb or Pastor Dillon, they said this, and you're like, yep. Okay, that sounds good. Knowing in the back of your mind, like I've been telling you this for 6 months, kid.
When you've both been, when two authorities in your life are in agreement, that's very powerful for a kid to hear. You know, everyone in my life that I respect is telling me this same thing. So, yeah, with partnership, you know, these guys do a great job. They want to be out seeing what you guys are doing out in the world. So if you got a game or a recital, a play, anything like that. they want to partner with you even in that, where it may not necessarily be like a Bible study. It may just be we want your kids to know we love and shepherd them.
I went and saw Lion King put on the other day, which was actually phenomenal. It was really, really well done.
Yeah. So those kind of things, like if we can show up at your school, or if we can, whatever we're allowed to do, we want to do to let your kids and students know we love them and we're supportive of them. And we're partnering with you in their growth toward maturity in the Lord. So, all right, that's the 5. Any last out the door thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? Preparation, participation, passion, protection, partnership. The 5 pillars, the 5 P's of Next Gen Ministry at Kirby Woods. Closing thoughts, or
we need a drawing. We need
of
the 5
an
pillars.
artistic rendering of these points.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay.
I think it does help, that silo ministry approach, especially with us moving all over into the big building now. I think it's going to be helpful because it's really cool to have nursery, kids, students, and adults on the 3rd floor. I think that'll help, and I love that, this participation where we say we're a multi-generational church. Some of the few things we've, like the bingo night we did, that was awesome
fun
to see. We had just across the board, everybody there, student ministry. We're starting to do breakfasts where we have some of our older Sunday school class come in and talk to the kids and doing those
kids
things.
Ministry, writing letters to the shut-ins. Yeah.
And so this is an encouragement to parents. Just ask kids what's going on at church. We're sending out recaps and all these other things, but just ask your kids, hey, what's going on? And I'll say, like, you always have an open invitation into my ministry on a Wednesday night. I'm not scared for you to come in there because I think it's cool for parents to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it may make you feel a little bit safer that, hey, we're going to have a lot of fun, but we're always going to talk about Jesus and point them back to that.
Good.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
You speaking Latin now?
Truly, truly, I say it to you. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to this today. And if you're a parent, this is really for you. If you're a volunteer, this is really for you. Everybody else, just want to let you know what's going on in our church life and the way that we purpose to reach our kids and our students. So this is the 5 P's of Next Gen Ministry at Kirby Woods. Hope you enjoyed it. Come see us one Sunday. If you are in the Memphis area and you're looking for a church, come see us at Kirby Woods at 6325 Poplar Ave, 10:30 a.m. services, or check us out online. We're in the Central Time Zone if you're somewhere else. But would love to see you sometime. And again, if you want to share this, it helps our podcast grow. And KirbyWoods.org/offscript, no hyphens or punctuation. You can go there anytime and submit a request for us to discuss some topic or some question that you have. And we try our best to do those from time to time. So y'all have an awesome day. We'll see you around. God bless. Goodbye.